There's something in the air in Foxborough that feels different, and it's not just the smell of fresh-cut grass after practice. It's that electric feeling that something big is about to explode, that the roar from the stands is about to turn into a war cry. Today we're talking about moves that could shake the core of the defense, surprises brewing on offense, and a development that's already making rivals sweat bullets. But is all of this enough to strike fear across the entire AFC? You won't believe what we've got today. So pull up a chair, hit that like button, and let's dive right into the news. Sometimes a move that looks small on paper is actually a chess piece, being put in exactly the right spot. The signing of K.I. Ulpiko by the New England Patriots is exactly that. On the surface, it's just adding a 32-year-old veteran defensive tackle. But if you know football, you know this kind of experience is pure gold, especially for a defensive front that already showed in the first preseason game that it came to play smash-mouth football. Pico isn't a stranger to our coaching staff. He's worked under Mike Bull and our defensive coordinator both in Tennessee and Detroit, and he's even crossed paths with Josh McDaniels back in Las Vegas. Translation, he's walking in already speaking the language of this locker room. He's not going to need weeks to adjust. He knows what's expected, and that's a huge advantage in August, when every single rep counts. And the timing couldn't be better. Against Washington, our D-line was aggressive, disciplined, and absolutely relentless. Now we're adding a guy who's been in multiple systems, faced high-powered offenses, and knows how to grind. Sure, he started just 14 games in 47 appearances with 58 tackles and 2 sacks. But for a rotational spot, that's the mark of a consistent pro who sticks in this league for a reason. Of course, for someone to come in, someone has to go. And unfortunately, that someone was Bryce Gainius, an undrafted free agent out of Wake Forest who had shown some promise. That's the cruel reality of the NFL. Gainius got just 8 defensive snaps against Washington and didn't make the kind of impact that forces a coach's hand. Vrabel made it clear he's rewarding the guys who seize the moment. That's the culture he's building, pure meritocracy. The competition now is about to hit another gear. Peko will be battling with K.Y. Ristong, Jeremiah Farms Jr., and David Olajiga for one of those coveted roster spots. Depth here means quarterbacks under pressure, running games stuffed, and a defense that can carry this team deep into the season. And if you think Peko is just here to fill space, wait until you see what he does in the joint practices against Minnesota this week. He didn't come here for a sightseeing trip. He came here to prove he still has plenty of gas left in the tank. And that's not even the most surprising thing we've seen today. Every now and then, talent and opportunity meet at exactly the right moment. That's exactly what happened with Jack Westover. The original plan was to roll with Brock Lamp at fullback, but the NFL's favorite plot twist, injuries, changed that. With Lamp headed to IR, Westover, who had been sitting in the TE3 slot, suddenly found himself with a golden opportunity, and he grabbed it like it was the final pass in the Super Bowl. In practice, he already had that extra spark. But in the preseason opener, we saw it for real. Westover slid into the fullback role like he'd been there for years, throwing key blocks, and in one unforgettable moment, absolutely bulldozing the way for Terrell Jennings to find the end zone. He didn't show up in the box score as a receiver, but real football people know that touchdowns started with his block. That's exactly the kind of player McDaniels loves, versatile, disciplined, and trustworthy. On a roster where flexibility is everything, Westover's value shoots up. He's been battling alongside names like Jaheim Bell, but it's the execution that sets him apart. When you earn the trust of veterans like Hunter Henry and A.W. Stenhofer, you're doing something right. And don't think this is just another blocker situation. A good fullback changes games. They open holes for explosive runs, buy the quarterback time, and can slip out into the passing game for those sneaky drive-saving catches. In McDaniel's system, that's a recipe for nightmare scenarios for defenses. The buzz is already building. Fans are calling him a Patriot by blood on social media and speculating about plays being drawn up just for him. If the preseason is any indicator, Westover might not just make the roster. He might redefine what we expect from the fullback position in New England. And while we're losing our minds over that, there's another roster battle that could completely reshape our offense heading into this season. If there's one unit that could set the ceiling for this offense, it's the wide receiver group. And right now, the competition is absolutely fierce. Stephon Diggs, Demario Douglas, and Kyle Williams look locked in. But after that, it's survival of the fittest. 11 guys fighting for a few spots, and one injury that could throw everything into chaos. Jalen Polks, the second-year receiver, needed a perfect offseason to cement his role. Instead, he's sidelined this week, with talk of him possibly landing on injured reserve, which would keep him out for at least the first 4 games. That changes everything. First, it opens a roster spot. Second, it forces some tough calls from the coaching staff. Polk's a recent draft pick, so outright cutting him isn't likely. IR keeps the investment alive and buys him time to recover, but it also gives someone else a shot. Enter Jovin Baker. After a rough 2024, he's looking like a new man this preseason. He's already leapfrogged Polk and is contributing on special teams, something Vrabel values massively when finalizing the 53. Then there's Kendrick Bourne, the wild card. Analysts think he could be traded or cut to make room for younger guys, but he's got history with McDaniels and has proven before that he can thrive in this offense. Do you keep the proven vet or gamble on youth? And remember, these are the guys catching passes from Drake May, the future of this franchise. The right supporting cast could be the difference between a playoff push and a frustrating season. Every snap, every catch in preseason is a chance to tip the scales. The fan base is split. Some want to roll with hungry young players like Baker, others want the security of guys like Bourne. And with the stakes this high, don't be surprised if the final decisions come down to the very last cuts. But hold up, because the next story is about a rookie who's already messing with our rivals' heads before the season even starts. Some players don't need years to make an impact. Sometimes it's just weeks of training camp and one preseason game to make everyone, fans, analysts, and especially opponents, pay attention. That's Trayvon Henderson, our rookie running back who's already giving rival fan bases sleepless nights. Think I'm exaggerating? Go ask Bills fans. For 5 years, they've enjoyed a comfortable view of the Patriots in the rearview mirror. Now, they're buzzing about how they'll contain this guy. Henderson isn't just fast, he's explosive, smart, and has that vision that turns a tiny crease into a 20-yard run. Against the Commanders, he showed exactly why he's been a camp standout. He churned out yards where there shouldn't have been any, threw key blocks, and became a legit receiving option. That's a defensive coordinator's worst nightmare, a back who can run, catch, and pass protect. And here's the fun part. He's in an offense run by McDaniels, a master at exploiting versatile players. Henderson could line up in the backfield, in the slot, or go in motion to throw defenses into chaos. Opponents won't know what's coming until it's too late. The Bills, Jets, and Dolphins are all going to have to change their game plans. And with Vrabel restoring a winning culture, every weapon counts. Henderson might just be the spark that turns this offense from a liability in recent years into a strength again. What makes it even better? Henderson isn't buying into the hype. He's grinding, staying focused, and showing maturity beyond his years. That's the Patriot way, talent plus work ethic. If Vrabel wanted to send a message, it's loud and clear. The Patriots are done being anyone's punchline. And with a defense stacked, new weapons on offense, and confidence building, you can feel it. Something big is brewing in New England. Put all these storylines together, the arrival of Pecco to fortify the defense, Westover redefining the fullback role, the fierce receiver battle, and Henderson already shaking up the division, and it's impossible not to believe something special is happening in Foxborough. This isn't a team just going through the motions anymore. This is a hungry, disciplined group, ready to shock people. But is the rest of the league ready for that? I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe, because this season is going to be a ride, and we're living every second together.